All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Oklahoma, 1955. Giving this 1 out of 5 stars. I hated this piece of poop. Are you kidding me? Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. Even Sound of Music was better than this milk toast. And of course, I watched it at St. Dominic's movie night. You're probably wondering, what in the heck is he doing reviewing Oklahoma? It's not even on his movies list. Well, I completely forgot about movie night on second Friday. And so here I am trashing Oklahoma. The little old ladies were actually clapping at this horrific musical. Now I understand what my grandmother was saying when she said the Sound of Music, the music in the Sound of Music was not good. It's not good in this one. None of it is good. It's here, the best loved musical of our time. Now a motion picture big as all outdoors. Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma with the very young looking Shirley Jones and some dude named Curly. I thought Curly was from the Three Stooges. Oh, man. What a horrible, horrible looking movie poster. And an even more horrific movie to watch. 2.5 hours of torture. This is a road show film. It's got musical introduction and intermission and then musical ending. The whole movie is just a musical about some cattle ranchers and farmers in Oklahoma, and they get along nice. And Shirley Jones gets her man, and her man accidentally kills the bad guy. Did I sum up the movie already? Well, I'll go into more detail. And now it's time for me to torture you with the horrific details of this horrific lamestream movie from 1955. This is pop culture at its absolute worst. And I mean worst. The only good thing I can say about it is that it doesn't have any nudity or blasphemy, although the women in this movie are surprisingly scantily clad, and there's even an off-screen nude bathing scene with Shirley Jones. Quite shocking. But you just have to use your imagination. It's 1955. There's censorship in the United States. People said, the United States is a bastion of free speech. Well, yeah, if you watch the 1960s grindhouse movies, everything prior to 1960s was rather milk toast bland as heck. I like that word, milk toast. Anyways, Oklahoma is a 1955 U.S. musical film, based on the 1943 musical of the same name by Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein, two of the worst musicians in the history of cinema, which in turn was based on the 1931 play Green Grow the Lilacs, written by Lynn Riggs. It stars Gordon McRae, Shirley Jones in her film debut. Shirley Jones went on to Partridge Family television show. And she looks way attractive in 1955. Not so much in the 1970s, though. Rod Steiger, Charlotte Greenwood, Gloria Grahame, Gene Nelson, James Whitmore, and Eddie Albert. The production was the only musical directed by Fred Zinnemann. Oklahoma was the first feature film photographed in the Todd AO 70mm widescreen process, and it was simultaneously filmed in CinemaScope 35mm. So I guess the only reason to watch this is it's a wholesome family film. I don't know if IMDb is going to say rated G or what, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. And in addition to that, the cinematography is pretty good, but the music just ruins everything. And I don't know, the story didn't interest me. I was kind of rooting for the bad guy, actually. The smelly, dirty guy who couldn't get Shirley Jones. I was rooting for him. Set in Oklahoma Territory shortly after the turn of the 20th century. So Oklahoma wasn't a state yet. It tells the story of farm girl Lori Williams Jones. So this is right during the horse and buggy era, right before the advent of cars. Tells the story of Jones, Lori Williams, and her courtship by two rival suitors, Cowboy Curly McLean. What a name. Played by McRae, and the sinister and frightening farmhand, Judd Fry, played by Steiger. We like Judd Fry in this movie. We wanted Judd Fry to get the girl. A second romance concerns Lori's friend, Ado Annie, played by Grahame, and Cowboy Will Parker, played by Nelson, who also has an unwilling rival. Gloria Grahame is hot. We love Gloria Grahame on this channel. We do not like Gloria Grahame in a singing musical with goofy music in the background. That's the only way I can describe it. This film did not age well, my friends. All right. So Lori's friend, Ado Annie, played by Grahame, and Cowboy Will Parker, played by Nelson, he has an unwilling rival. A background theme is the territory's aspiration for statehood and local conflict between cattlemen and farmers. The film received a rave review from the New York Times, of course, mainstream newspaper, And it was voted a New York Times Critics Pick. It won Academy Awards in the category of musical scoring and sound recording. It should have got the Golden Raspberry Award. In 2007, Oklahoma was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Good-natured cowboy Curly McLean admires the beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful morning. I think I'm going to be sick. While riding his horse to the farm of Lori Williams, his secret love, and her aunt Eller. They sure fight a lot for being his secret love. At the farm, he invites Lori to a box social being held that night to raise money for a new schoolhouse. What a waste of money. As we learned from Tea House of the August Moon, the best schoolhouse is actually a tea house in Japan. Frustrated that he waited so long to ask her, Lori refuses his invitation. Curly tempts her by describing the surrey he plans to drive her in. Then Curly tells her he made the story up to get back at her for refusing him. Like we really care about this inane dialogue that's happening, this pretend fighting that's going on. Lori gets her own revenge by agreeing to go with their menacing field hand, Judd Fry. she shouldn't have scorned Judd Fry. Bad decision. All right. This is color process, Eastman color. The color is incredible on this. Give credit to Eastman color, but it still didn't save the movie. Despite those two positive aspects, the cinematography, the color, the three positive aspects, the lack of blasphemy or nudity, the film still stinks heaven high, even after all that. Distributed by Magna Theater Corporation, 70 millimeter, and RKO Radio Pictures, 35 millimeters. Release date October 11th, 1955, in the Rivoli Theater. Running time 148 minutes. Todd A.O. Roadshow release version 140 minutes, and CinemaScope general release version is 8 minutes shorter. Language English, budget $5.9 million, box office of $7.1 million, estimated US and Canada rentals. That's pretty good. It's a lamestream movie. It did pretty good at the box office. Cowboy Will Parker arrives by train from a trip to Kansas City. Cowboy Will Parker seeks out his sweetheart, Ado Annie, who in Will's absence has become smitten with itinerant peddler Ali Hakim, played by another television character who did Green Acres. Will tells Annie that he has earned the $50 her father, a farmer who does not like cowboys, told him he had to earn before he would allow him to marry Annie, but he spent it all on presents for her. Annie tries to resist Will, but eventually gives in, leaving her torn between Will and Ali. Townspeople gather at Aunt Eller's farm to refresh themselves before the box social. Gertie, a flirtatious woman with a loud, annoying laugh, flirts with Curly, and she upsets Laurie despite her promises to not let his games bother her, and Curly flirts back to make Laurie jealous. I used to do this when I was younger at work with two Chinese gals. Uh, I wasn't following my Catholic principles, and I just thought women were just like Chinese sex toys. Curly asks Laurie again if she will go to the social with him, but Laurie, fearful of Judd, refuses again. Curly angrily confronts Judge in the smokehouse, leading to each man firing his gun. Curly stalks off, and Judd again threatens Laurie if she changes her mind. Laurie should listen to Judd. Judd is a stinky old farm boy living in pigsty, but image isn't everything. But it is in this movie because Judd Fry ends up stabbing himself after Shirley Jones' boyfriend jumps on him. Curly angrily confronts Judd in the smokehouse, leading to each man firing his gun. Curly stalks off, and Judd again threatens Laurie if she changes her mind. Uncertain what to do, Laurie uses a bottle of smelling salts she bought earlier from Ali, hoping to find her answer in a dream. And then it goes into a psychedelic dream of lame dancing. Even the tap dancing in this movie is poorly choreographed. I would much rather see Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire, or who's that other crazy legs tap dancer? I can't remember. But when we're talking 1930s, tap dancing was much better at that time, let's just say. It sort of fizzled out in this movie during the 50s. As Judd drives Laurie to the box social, he tells her he is in love with her, and Judd tries to kiss her. She whips the horses, causing them to bolt once Judd gets them under control. Laurie leaves Judd behind. Laurie drives to the social alone. Judd Fry has to walk. At the social, despite the hosts encouraging everyone to get along, Ado Annie's father belittles the cowboys, causing a fight to break out, which Auntie Eller breaks up. Will makes his $50 back by selling his presents to Ali Hakim from Green Acres, who pays Will more than each gift is worth to get Annie back together with Will. When the auction of ladies' picnic baskets begins, Ali Hakim outbids Will to get Annie's basket, so Will won't lose the $50 he needs to marry Annie. It's all confusing. Confusing. Are they auctioning off these Oklahoma shanty tramps for a schoolhouse? Is that what's going on? Can somebody explain this to me? Curly and Judd get into a bidding war over Lori's basket. Curly sells his saddle horse and gun to raise enough money to beat Judd's highest bid and win. Lori fires Judd after he confronts her, and Judd sneers that she will never be rid of him. When Lori tells Curly what happened, he offers to stay the night at their farm for protection. Then Curly goes further. Curly proposes marriage to Shirley Jones, which Lori accepts. There's not even any honorable courtship or engagement. It's just, will you marry me? Yes, I will, Curly. I love you. Meanwhile, Will tells Ado Annie she must stop flirting with other men despite not being willing to stop flirting with other women. Ali Hakim tells Annie she's better off marrying Will, and then Ali Hakim resumes his travels. Weeks later, Curly and Lori are married. After the ceremony, Judd appears. Judd tries to kill Curly and Lori by burning them alive atop a bale of hay, some kind of Oklahoman ritual where they jump on the top of a bale of hay and people throw dolls at them. However, Curly attacks Judd, causing Judd to fall on his own knife, killing him. The townspeople hold an impromptu trial in Auntie Eller's kitchen, where Curly is found not guilty. And that's pretty much the movie right there. Did I miss anything? I mean, I don't know. This movie is irritating. Interest in the film version of Oklahoma dates as far back as 1943 when the musical first opened on Broadway. United Artists, Columbia Pictures, 20th Century Fox, and MGM were among the many Hollywood studios' interest in the project. Ultimately, the film rights were bought by Magna Theater Corporation, a company founded by George Scoros, Joseph Schenek, and Michael Todd for a record $1 million in 1953, equivalent to approximately $11.8 million in 2024. What has the government done to our money? Magnum was initially founded in order to develop a new widescreen process Todd created called Todd AO. And Magna ended up financing the film independently after a deal with Fox fell through, including the cost of developing the new process. Magna invested $11 million in the film, equivalent to approximately $129 million in 2024. Although the film was initially to have been shot On location in the title state, the producers opted to shoot elsewhere, apparently because the oil wells would be a distraction for exterior scenes. Location shooting was done mostly in Nogales, Arizona. The cornfield in the opening number, as well as the reprise song, Surrey with the Fringe on Top, were shot at the historic Canoa Ranch in Green Valley, Arizona. The train station used in the Kansas City routine was located in Elgin, Arizona. Soundstage and backlot sequences were filmed at MGM Studios in Culver City, California. Oklahoma was the first production photographed in Todd AO. The original specification for Todd AO involved running at 30 frames per second, which made it impossible to produce 35 millimeters, which ran at 24 frames per second reduction prints from the Todd AO negative. Therefore, it was simultaneously shot in the more established CinemaScope 35 millimeter format to allow presentation in theaters lacking 70 millimeter equipment. Hence, there are actually two different versions of the film comprising different takes. Director Zinnemann mentioned that shooting the film in both formats was a precautionary measure since the converted CA 1930s Fearless Super Film 65 millimeter Todd AO camera was still being tested during production. It was workable to have the Todd AO and CinemaScope shooting side by side in only about 10 scenes. The ultra-wide scope of the Todd AO lens rarely would permit the CinemaScope camera to work alongside it. The plan was changed very early, and the various scenes were enacted and shot twice. Director of photography Robert Surtees reported, "It is a little difficult for me to put into words how it felt to work with something as totally new as Todd AO. We started shooting before we even knew whether it was going to work. We had no precedents to go by, not even any technical data to refer to. Every bit of camera, lab, editing, and projection equipment had to be specifically designed and built as we went along, often on feverish deadlines just ahead of our shooting schedule. We felt like pioneers, but there was a spirit there, a spark of excitement generated through a wonderfully loyal and competent crew working together to produce something very special. It was an experience I'll never forget." The only actors who tried out for the role of Curly, sorry, just lost my place there. This is going to be a long review. Buckle your seats. The many actors who tried out for the role of Curly included James Dean and Paul Newman. According to TCM, Dean made a sensational screen test with Rod Steiger in the Poor Judd is Dead number, but because his voice wasn't strong enough, Gordon McRae was cast in the main role. Steiger remarked that Dean hadn't got quite his technique together. At the time of his death, he was working too much on instinct. He'd be brilliant in one scene and then blow the next. He observed that Dean was a nice kid absorbed by his own ego, so much so that it was destroying him, which he thinks led to his death. Dean reportedly gave him his prized copy of Ernest Hemingway's book Death in the Afternoon and had underlined every occurrence of the word death. Joanne Woodward was offered the role as of Laurie, which went to Shirley Jones, who had previously performed in a stage production of Oklahoma. Eli Wallach and Ernest Borgnine were considered for the role of Judd before Rod Steiger was cast. Robert Russell Bennett expanded his Broadway orchestrations. Jay Blackton conducted, and Agnes DeMille again choreographed. Costume designer Ori Kelly was hired to oversee the costumes for the film, with Ann Roth as his assistant. Rogers and Hammerstein personally oversaw the film to prevent the studio from making changes of the kind that were then typical of stage-to-film musical adaptations, such as putting in new songs by different composers. They also maintained artistic control over the film versions of several of their other stage musicals. The film Oklahoma followed the original stage version extremely closely, more so than any Rogers and Hammerstein stage-to-film adaptation. However, it did divide the very long, more than 45 minutes first scene into several shorter scenes, changing the locations of several of the songs in the process rather than beginning off stage. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning was now sung as Curly. Gordon McRae rode his horse from the now seen cornfield as high as a sick elephant's eye to Aunt Eller's farm. Kansas City was sung and danced at the local train station where Aunt Eller, Charlotte Greenwood, and other cowboys meet Will Parker, Gene Nelson, who had just returned from that city. Also, a few lyrics in the song about a burlesque stripteaser had to undergo minor changes to pass film censorship. I told you there was film censorship in this. In the original Broadway musical, the character of Will Parker sings, "I could swear that she was packed from her shoulder to her heel, but later in the second act, when she began to peel, she proved that everything she had was absolutely real." This film wanted to be an adult film, but it ended up being a 5-year-old kid film or a 90-year-old woman film. For the film, these were changed to, but then she started dancing, and her dancing made me feel that everything, single thing she had was absolutely real. I Can't Say No was sung by Ado Annie, Gloria Grahame, at a lakeside where Laurie had been skinny dipping, swimming, but you can't see her new body because the river is blurring it out or the bush is covering it. Many a New Day was sung and danced in Laurie's Shirley Jones' bedroom as the women, stopping over at a farmhouse on their way to the Skidmore Ranch, changed their clothes for the upcoming box social that evening. And this is what I mean by scantily clad. There's even a short-haired blondie redneck gal who's very flat-chested and boyish looking, almost androgynous, in a nod to Green Grow the Lilacs, which was basis of Oklahoma. Judd attempts to get revenge on Curly and Laurie by burning a haystack they stand on after the wedding rather than simply attacking Curly with a knife as in the stage version of the musical. As Curly and Laurie stand atop the burning haystack, Judge pulls a knife and taunts Curly. The couple jumps down with Curly landed on Judd and inadvertently causing him to fall on his own knife. Poor Judd. He just wanted some Shirley Jones action. Is it too much to ask? From a hick who lives in the pig slop. The film omitted very little from the stage production, cutting only 2 songs, Ali Hakim's It's a Scandal, It's an Outrage, Judd's Lonely Room, and 1 verse from Oh What a Beautiful Morning, and thus ran 2.5 hours, much longer than most other screen musicals of the time. It was the first of the huge Rose Show musical films that would eventually overrun Hollywood in the 1960s. Magna held invitational screenings of Oklahoma over 3 days at the Rivoli Theater in New York City, starting on October 11, 1955. The official public premiere was on October 13th. The film was shown on a 2-day reserved seat policy with 3 shows at weekends and holidays, and it grossed $573,493 in its first 12 weeks in New York. The film opened on the same road show basis at Grauman's Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles on November 18th, and then at the McVickers Theater in Chicago on December 26th. In its initial theatrical release, the Magna Theater Corporation handled distribution of the Rose Show presentations in 70mm Todd AO in 29 U.S. and 2 Canadian cities. It grossed $8,970,087 from 4,672,184 patrons. RKO Pictures distributed the general release version in 35mm anamorphic CinemaScope, which was released after its roadshow run ended. Later, when RKO was experiencing financial turmoil, 20th Century Fox assumed distribution of the general release edition. Outside the United States, the film was a box office disappointment. I stand corrected. It did not do well outside the United States, which is probably the reason why the rest of the world hates the U.S. Because of this garbage. All rights to the film are owned by the estates of Rogers and Hammerstein. In 1982, the U.S. and Canadian distribution rights to this film were acquired by the Samuel Goldwyn Company and reissued both the 70mm and 35mm versions theatrically. The original 70mm version was restored and screened for the first time since its initial engagements. In April 2014, a restored version of the Todd AO version was screened at the 5th annual TCM Classic Film Festival in Hollywood. The 8-month restoration was developed in conjunction with 20th Century Fox. The CinemaScope version of the film was first telecast as a Thanksgiving Day special by CBS on the evening of November 26, 1970, about a month before my birthday. Unlike some later telecasts of the film, this one was presented complete and uncut, except for the overture, entr'acte, and exit movie music. As with its 1960s telecast of The Wizard of Oz, CBS felt that the film needed a host to introduce it, so they brought in Sebastian Cabot Cabot, Anissa Jones, Johnny Whitaker, and Kathy Garver, all from the long-running CBS sitcom Family Affair, to serve as hosts. The four of them, rather than appearing as themselves, spoke their lines in character, as if they were still playing the roles from the series. Because the film was shown on Thursday evening, it occupied the same time slot in which Family Affair was shown in 1970, which explains the selection of the four actors from the show to host the film. It earned a Nielsen rating of 27.9 and an audience share of 47%. For unexplained reasons, the original UK DVD release is a pan and scan version from a noticeably grainy CinemaScope print, even though the companion DVD of South Pacific was taken from a pristine Todd A.O. master and presented in widescreen. The 50th anniversary U.S. DVD release of Oklahoma by partial rights holder, 20th Century Fox, is a double disc release that includes both the CinemaScope and original 70mm Todd A.O. versions in widescreen. I think I watched the 70mm Todd A.O. version at St. Dominic's. The Todd A.O. version has an overture intermission with end track and exit music. CinemaScope version is without intermission or any traditional road show features. Shirley Jones does audio commentary on the Todd A.O. presentation in March 2006. This version was also released in the UK as part of a set of a remastered Rodgers and Hammerstein's DVDs. In 2014, 20th Century Fox released in the US a special 4-disc Blu-ray and DVD combo set with both Todd A.O. and CinemaScope 35 versions. The Todd A.O. version was superior in definition to the CinemaScope version in its release. In 2021, it was announced that the film would stream on Disney Plus beginning April 30th, 2021, following the acquisition of 21st Century Fox by the Walt Disney Company. The Todd A.O. version was used on the app. In 2022, it was announced that the film would stream on the Criterion channel starting January 2023. In April 2023, the Disney Plus service removed the film from its services in all countries. As of November 2023, the film was not offered by the Criterion channel, but the non-roadshow version in CinemaScope was streaming on Prime Video. All right. Academy Awards Best Cinematography Color. Robert Surtees nominated. Best Film Editing. Gene Ruggiero and George Boomer nominated. Best Scoring of a Musical Picture. Robert Russell Bennett, Jay Blackton, and Adolph Douche won. Best Sound Recording, Fred Hines won. National Film Preservation Board, National Film Registry inducted. Satellite Awards, Best Classic DVD, Oklahoma, part of a Rodgers and Hammerstein box set collection. Probably, the way things are going, I'll probably end up watching every single movie in that box set at stupid St. Dominic's. It was nominated for a Satellite Award. Writers Guild of America Awards, Best Written Musical, Sonia Levian and William Ludwig. All right. Nobody's in the chat room. Nobody cares about my channel because I'm going on about a lame stream from 1955 that does not cater to any of my audience whatsoever. Here we go. Oklahoma, 1955. As expected, rated G for a 5-year-old. 2 hours, 25 minutes. Gets a whopping 7 out of 10 on IMDb. 15,000 ratings. Super lame stream. In Oklahoma, several farmers, cowboys, and traveling salesmen compete for the romantic favors of various local ladies. Wow. What a compelling story. Not. All right, here's a flattering review from D. Moore's. The title of the review is "Oh, What a Wonderful Movie." Must be some 90-year-old woman who saw this when she was a little girl. All right, more like this. Carousel, which I'll bet you is going to be another St. Dominic's movie night. South Pacific, another St. Dominic's movie night. 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. And The King and I, another St. Dominic's movie night in all likelihood. This is Shirley Jones' film debut. When the words "The End" appear at the square section of the sky, clouds directly behind "the" suddenly moves upward. However, it is fixed in the Blu-ray release. Ali Hakim is quoted as saying, "I wanted to marry her when I saw the moonlight shining on the barrel of her father's shotgun." Yeah, he's trying to be funny with some redneck shotgun wedding. Theatrical versions, the Todd AO 70mm version and the CinemaScope 35mm version are completely different with different opening credits, each scene being shot twice and with different sound mixes. In the Todd AO version, the titles appear against a black background, then the black background fades out to reveal 2 rows of giant corn stalks through which the camera tracks until it finds Gordon McRae singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." My voice actually sounds better than Gordon McRae. In the CinemaScope version, we first see the corn stalks, the camera tracks through them. Then, as the words Rogers and Hammerstein present appear on the screen, kiss of death as far as I'm concerned, Gordon McRae appears. Gordon McRae rides up to the camera and then past it off the left as the title Oklahoma appears. The rest of the opening credits in this version are shown against first a background of a barn, then a meadow with a tree nearby. As the credits end, the camera cuts back to McRae and he begins singing. At the end of the Todd AO version, we see the words "a Magna release." At the end of the CinemaScope version, we see the words "a Magna production distributed by RKO Radio Pictures." This was featured in All You Need Is Love Introduction, 1977. Soundtracks Overture, uncredited. Music by Richard Rodgers. Lyrics by Oscar Hammerstein II. Performed by the 20th Century Fox Studio Orchestra, which sounds horrible, by the way. All of the music in this is bad. I can somewhat tolerate Julie Andrews singing doe, a deer, a female deer, just because I remember that record from when I was a kid. I thought it was Doris Day the whole time, but it was actually the redhead, Julie Andrews. So the overture soundtrack for this one was conducted by Jay Blackton, played over opening title card. All right. Release date November 23rd, 1956 in Austria. Country of origin United States. Language English. Also known as Oklahoma with no question mark. Exclamation mark. Filming locations Elgin, Arizona, USA. Train station musical number scene. Production companies Rogers and Hammerstein Productions and Magna Entertainment. Box office budget $5 million estimate. Gross worldwide $16,133. I guess that's not including the US. I have no idea where that thing comes from. Runtime 2 hours 25 minutes or 2 hours 30 minutes, depending on which version you watch. That's it. We'll get to D. Morse's review entitled "Oh, What a Wonderful Movie!" 2 exclamation marks. There's no rating on this, but I'm guessing that it's higher than my rating of 2 out of 10, seeing as how the average rating is 7 out of 10. I just acquired the set of Rogers and Hammerstein's musicals on DVD. Now that would be torture to watch all those. And I am enjoying them immensely. The picture clarity and sound are outstanding, and the music and story good to boot. Really? People have interesting taste when it comes to this movie. I believe this was Shirley Jones' debut in a movie, and she portrays Lori to a T, and she has ample support from all the other actors, and she has fine comedy support from Gloria, Grahame, and Charlotte Greenwood. Have enjoyed Miss Greenwood in earlier films she did at Fox, and I'm wondering if she played Aunt Eller on Broadway. The ballet sequence is exquisitely handled by Agnes DeMille. And the dancing in all scenes superb. That's questionable. If there was any complaint, it would only be that the scenes with Judd seem a little prolonged and drawn out. But overall, an excellent film. Everything about this review is way off base. The only reason to watch this film is for Judd Fry. The rest of the film is rubbish. As Adrian would say. And that's about 2 hours, 15 minutes of torturous musical numbers. It's like watching a music video from 1955. That's the only way I can describe it. Anyways, going down my list of number 1 is Haunts. Haunts from 1976. Great psychological thriller film. From Cult Cinema Classics on YouTube. Probably public domain. It's got Cameron Mitchell. I'm very much looking forward to that tomorrow. Number 2 is All That Remains, the story of Takashi Nagai, 2016. Then number 3 is Sudden Impact, 1983. Those are the next 3 coming down the pike. Oh, man. Got a runny nose tonight all of a sudden. I wonder how that happened. Is it my allergies or what? I need some nasal spray. Laters.